Some family feuds start at a very young age. The epic feud that I had with my sister at age 4, when she was only 2, led to a crazy result, which I'll share in just a little bit. But just a little bit of background. My father was a Mennonite pastor. He pastored in York for 15 years. And when he was just getting started is when my story takes place. But just to give you a little bit of background, my family was not one that feuded a lot. My parents were wonderful. It was a very loving family. And I can't even remember my parents actually ever fighting. They just got along great. But my sister and I were a different story. The strongest fights that I remember between her and I revolved around the television and what we would watch. Because my mother would restrict our television viewing to 1 hour a day. So as you might imagine, when Mom and Dad were gone, the first thing that Julie and I would do is turn on the television and watch as much as we could possibly watch. But we would fight about what we would watch, because she probably wanted to watch, who knows, Care Bears or Rainbow Bright, or I don't know, whatever she watched. And I was more likely to want to watch Hogan's Heroes, or Benny Hill, or, something a little more down those lines. So we would fight, and I remember I still have scars from how she would use her fingernails to just grip into my skin and leave marks. So I remember feuding with her pretty often about this, and other things, of course, as we were young. These days, we feud more about things like the existence of God. It's a little bit of a shift from television, but there are feuds to be had in families, and this is an important part of my journey, away from Christianity and away from being part of a family where that was a very, very important part. But back to the story that I need to get to. So my parents were visiting with a family who lived right on the edge of the Codorus Creek. And there was a hill that my dad's 1964 Pontiac Star Chief, big old car, was parked on. And as my parents were running out of patience with my sister and I, they sent us out to the car so they could pray with the family before they left. And we were told to get in the back seat of the car, so we did, except my sister decided as a 2-year-old to go climb over the seat and get into the front seat of the car. And so this was a problem, and this is where the feud happened between her and I, because I was the obedient child and she was the disobedient child, and I needed her to be obedient. So I went to tattle, and as I was getting out of the car, she pulled it out of park, and the car started to move. And my parents, what they heard first was the screaming, which was her caught on a tree. Fortunately, she didn't actually go into the creek with the car. But what they didn't hear was me unconscious on the ground, having been run over by said car. And I'm telling you the story as it was told to me somewhat, because I was 4 years old, but I was told that I had... that half my face was black and blue, and the other half had tire marks. I don't know. I don't remember that much. But I do remember waking up in the hospital and being alive, fortunately. Spoiler alert. But we still... my sister and I have grew together closer as we grew up, but now I feel like there's a little bit of a distance there because of this difference of belief that is very, very hard to navigate. My parents always, my mom always especially told me that there was a special reason why I lived through that experience, that God had a plan for my life and that there were angels watching over me at the time. Now I'm not so sure about that, whether that's true or not. And I feel that maybe maybe God might be tremendously disappointed in a way for his efforts on that day with how I turned out. But in any case, I have some very disappointing news to share with my sister this week, and I don't know exactly how that's going to go. And there's a potential for that news that I need to share with her for us to pull apart. And I really don't want that because I desire to be close with my sister. But in any case, whatever happens, she owes me because she ran over me with a car. Thank you.